It doesn't really feel like Formula One's silly season has started until every year we see that one inevitable rumor come back again and again, despite the fact that it has been refuted multiple times. I am, of course, talking about Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari, and once again is back.
It has to be every year. I mean, an F1 season isn't complete without Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari rumor.
Never ever. And you'd think by now they'd have stopped it because he's been linked to them since 2012, which is the same year he left McLaren, Mercedes. Since then he joined Mercedes, won 6 titles, and he's still being linked to Ferrari, who haven't won a title since 2008.
I mean, it's not too suspicious to say that maybe Ferrari is trying to get Lewis Hamilton because they're not short on funds.
They're not.
Ferrari is Ferrari, of course. Okay. I think it's the car that's the problem. With the season that Lewis Hamilton is having, I think if it were for him, I think he would move to Ferrari if they had a better car.
Yeah, that's the key. If they had a better car. Because again, you'd remember that when the links to Ferrari were happening in 2012, McLaren at that point were not really in the title fight. Ferrari, on the other hand, were against Red Bull. At that point, you're thinking, okay, maybe. Then, of course, he made the move to Mercedes. We know how that worked out for him. In fact, he beat a Ferrari driver in 2 of those seasons to win the title. Of course, talking about Sebastian Vettel. But I mean, right now, okay, yes, you can make an argument that, in 2022, it was the Ferraris who were closer to competing with Red Bull. But in 2023, look at where all the cars are now who are the best of the rest behind Red Bull. If you're looking at Mercedes, you're looking at Ferrari, and even now, of course, shockingly, Aston Martin. Can you really make a case to say that he would do better going to Ferrari than he would by staying at Mercedes, a team that is practically home? I don't think so.
He wouldn't do that, but then again, that's what I'm saying, right? That it's not too, I can't find the right word, but it is possible that Ferrari are trying to get him because he shares a close relationship with Ferrari, management, and there have been rumors going around. Even the team principals have said. Toto Wolff also talked about it, if I'm not wrong.
He spoke about, not just that, of course, and he refuted them outright. Yeah. In fact, he said the same thing that we did. He said every year it comes up, and every year we have to refute it.
Then there has to be a reason why it comes up every.
Yeah, and I think the reason for it coming up is quite simple because, again, you have to remember with Ferrari, the way that team runs is pretty dysfunctional. So you have the management of the team, but then you also have the interference from the parent company, which is, of course, Fiat. And you know for a fact that John Elkann, the current CEO, very involved with how Ferrari is run. But sometimes what happens with top interference like that is that you end up making decisions that don't make sense. Because again, and you can chime in on this and let me know here, I don't think Ferrari's current problems are the drivers.
No, it's not.
I think it's the management and the car.
I mean, at this point, when you're looking at the young drivers on the grid, you don't get anything better than Charles.
Exactly.
Okay. And then look at the problems that Charles has been having with Ferrari, and it's never, Charles' fault.
I mean, in some cases, sure, but most of the times, no.
Everyone makes mistakes. See, Lewis also makes mistakes, Max makes mistakes, but then you have to look at the entirety of the crashes that's been had. I mean, 2021 is a season I cannot forget for Charles because every time he got a P1 in the qualification, he would start from the grid because there was some problem.
Remember
he would,
Monaco? He had that this thing. He ended up crashing the car and then couldn't even take to the race. So the sure, I don't know. It's just bad luck that you want to call it.
Also, his gearbox had a lot of problem. His brakes had a problem. I think it was France where he went straight.
That was in 2022. Yeah, France where he ended up just
going
crashing.
Straight. The brakes weren't working. So most of the times it's the car, and then comes in this horrible strategy.
Again, you're talking about Monaco 2022. Remember, they called him in because they were doing a double stack with Sainz already in the pits.
Yeah.
And then he comes in and they're like, no, stay. He's like, come on, this can't be happening. And he was really mad after the race. Because again, it cost him not just a podium finish, potentially a win. And he said very clearly, this can't be happening again. Spoiler alert, it did happen a lot of the times. There's a reason those clown memes take to social media every time Ferrari make a bad strategy call. It's just their thing. Can a Lewis Hamilton fix that? No. That's
what I'm saying, because if there was a good car, okay, Lewis Hamilton could possibly move. And Ferrari having a good car, it's not too far ahead in the future. But then, where the real problem comes in is the management, is the strategy. I think it's very complicated in Ferrari, and no one's ever on the same page. Look at the problem Charles has had. Look at the problem
even Carlos has had.
Carlos, yes, exactly, and that's why I think Lewis will not make this move, even though I'm going to blow your minds. Mine, just to
minds of all the people who are joining us
I'm going
as
to
well.
blow your minds when I tell you the number that Ferrari have come up with for Lewis Hamilton.
What's the number?
It's £40 million per year contract.
Ooh, I think that is actually higher than his current deal with Mercedes.
That's what they're saying. That's where all the rumors are coming in from, that the numbers are not a problem. The money is not a problem. The car's the problem.
And that's the thing. But again, if you're Lewis, you've won 6 titles with this team. You want to win a 7th with this team and of course get that 8th. You know, there's another angle to it which we don't quite consider. And I think now that they're sitting and thinking about it, I can understand Ferrari's rationale behind why they think going for a Hamilton might be a good idea, because last time they actually had a really dominant run. They did so by signing the best driver on the grid. Of course, I'm talking about Michael Schumacher, 96, 2-time world champion. Took them 3 years of work, but then they ended up getting a dynasty where they ended up dominating the championship for 5 years straight. So in that sense, I kind of get where it is they're coming from.
And I think that's a great point that you brought up. And now that you've brought up this point, I think what they're looking for is someone who can, an experienced driver who can guide the management, who can guide the engineers. Because look at how much contribution Lewis has had with Mercedes. He's the one that sat down and built that wheel with the very complicated functions and all. And he's had a big role in how the engine works and how the steering works. I think that's what Ferrari are looking at as well.
Maybe, but the one thing I will say though is that, and again, the counterpoint which I'm bringing to counter myself, funnily enough, is that when they went for Schumacher, he was 27.
Right.
Okay, he was 27, had won 2 titles, and you could understand building the team around him then. Lewis is 38, has won 7 world titles, but doesn't really have anything more to prove. Like, he could retire right now and he'd still be statistically the greatest driver of all time. Most wins, same number of titles as Schumacher, most podiums, most poles. Everything is there. He doesn't need that. So, again, and let's assume he joins. He's there for what, maybe 2 or 3 years at most. Are you going to torpedo the career of a Charles, who's been someone who's been your golden boy since he's been in your academy? Are you going to put it on the back burner and say that no, wait 2-3 years, we'll try and win a title with Hamilton first, then it's your turn? What's the guarantee then that it doesn't become a swap that Charles goes to Mercedes? Saying that no, I want to be the lead driver. You always want to be the lead driver. And if you're bringing in someone like a Lewis, he's 100% going to be the lead
that's
driver.
what I was about to say, that if Lewis comes in, there's no chance that Charles is going to be the number 1 driver of the team. And then with the Lewis Hamilton, like you said that he's 38, right? He of course brings in the experience, right? Like I've said that he'll work with the management and all of that, but then again, is he really the problem, the solution to all your problems?
No, I don't think
Not
so.
really.
I don't think so. That's the weird thing, because again, I get the reasons, and okay, let's go totally hypothetical here. Let's really spitball and talk about the romantic side of things. Again, Hamilton throughout his career has only ever driven for 1 engine supplier, which is weird when you think about it, because when he joined McLaren, Mercedes were the works engine customers. Then of course he joined Mercedes, which was the works team. So he's won everything that he's done with the Mercedes engine backing him. Ferrari, of course, there's always that romantic notion that the best drivers will always pass through, because that's pretty much how it's been. They're the only team on the grid who've been there since like the first ever championship that was held. So they have that legacy. And let's assume he wants to be that person who breaks Schumacher's record. How romantic would it be if he did it in a Ferrari?
Not romantic for Schumacher.
Not romantic for Michael. I was talking about for Lewis, for his fans. There'd be things, sure. I mean, look, he did it in a Ferrari. He broke a Ferrari man's record. In fact, the man who you considered last with that last dynasty of dominance that Ferrari had, Schumacher was left, right and center. But again, that's just romantic. Logistically speaking, I don't think he's fixing. I don't think he's fixing Ferrari's problems. It might even happen. Okay, let's say something happens. There's a breakdown between him and Toto Wolff, and he thinks that maybe the team want to, favor George Russell. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can come up. I've seen stranger things happen in Formula One. I've seen team moves happen that I never thought would happen. And I guess, it is also something that has come up in the past. In 2013, when he joined, or in 2012 when he joined. 2013 it was, sorry. In 13 when he joined Mercedes, he almost actually joined another team on the grid. Do you know which team that was? Red Bull. In fact, they had preliminary negotiations, him and Christian Horner, which is hilarious in hindsight when you think about it. And Horner wanted to put him in the Red Bull alongside, get this, Sebastian Vettel.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine that driver pairing in one car? So again, as I'm saying, strange things have almost happened and stranger things have happened. But if I'm Hamilton, I see no logic in this move. Never mind the money. He doesn't need the money.
Even if I'm Gargi and myself and not Hamilton, I don't see it happening because that's just...
I'm not winning anything in that car.
Yeah, you're not winning anything in that car. You're not helping anyone, especially yourself.
Yeah.
But when I think of Lewis and the state that Mercedes is at right now, I cannot help but compare him to Valentino Rossi, of course. You know, look at what happened with him. He's stuck with the Yamaha for so long, for years. And then, you know, he got that 9th world title. 9th, right? He got that 9th world title and he's, you know, hoping and praying for the 10th one.
And
Marc Marquez comes in. But then you're thinking, okay, Yamaha is going to only get better from here because it's been dominating since years. Like Mercedes did. Look at the parallel. They had the Lewis, which is Valentino. Yeah, they had the Valentino, they had the dominating car, dominating bike. And then it all kind of goes, you know, downhill from there.
Correct.
Both Yamaha had chassis problems in the, I think for the past, the last 3 years that Valentino was in Yamaha, they were having a lot of chassis problems. Similar situation with Lewis Hamilton. And then Valentino Rossi just kind of bowed out.
Then again, and I get this parallel, it's a great parallel. I'm again looking at it from a Hamilton's perspective and saying, Ferrari on one side, Mercedes the other. Neither of them are close to Red Bull right now.
Yeah.
But which team would you pick to get on top of their issues quicker?
Mercedes.
Exactly, which means if I'm Hamilton, I stick with that. Of course, that won't stop the rumors from emerging. It won't stop us talking about it because again, it's just one of those weird things that you can't help but think about. What if it happens? What if? But I think if you're asking me, maybe it just remains a what if.
Yeah, that's as good as it's going to get. I don't think Lewis is going anywhere apart from Mercedes.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much ending his career there.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll take up an ambassadorial role or something. Could very well be possible because again, Mercedes prior to Hamilton, the one driver who defined them in terms of title wins was of course Fangio all those years back. That was in the 50s. But now Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes is pretty much like the dream team. It is bigger arguably in terms of title wins than what Ferrari and Schumacher were, because again there you had 5, here you've got 6, could have been 7, could still very well be 7, and that kind of sustained dominance, you don't end up leaving the team behind just because you've had 2 bad years. I think he'd be wanting to stick it out and say, okay, look, you've given me so much, I don't feel like I'm going to retire anytime soon, so let's get things right and let's leave the team in good hands. I don't see him leaving.
So yeah, we both come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, because Ferrari, unfortunately, they might have the money. I'm not sure they have the know-how to fix their problems.
Not the strategists, not the car.
Yeah. So, rare occasion or not so rare occasion that we end up coming to the same consensus. But how do you guys feel? Well, you can let us know that in the comments. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap the bell. And of course, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well. Stay tuned. Let us know if you enjoyed these kind of talks. We'll bring more of them your way. For now, from Gargi and me, bye-bye.